What's I think I'm real thirsty now.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today is February 26, 2020. The time now is 6 p.m. Good. We do have a quorum. Mr. Dan Diaz is present. Mr. Roland Gomez. ECISD trustee, Mr. Javier Salinas. We're also joined by Aaron Vela, our legal counsel, and our interim director, Mr. Richard Hinojosa. Mr. Hinojosa, was the meeting posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Yes, sir. President, this notice was posted on 21st day of February at 5 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any public comments, Mike?
Is that you?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, we'll go straight into it then. Item number 4, presentation by Edinburg Chamber of Commerce.
For the record. Yes. Oh, that's 40. That's like
Good evening. Thank you for having us on the agenda. My name is Ronnie Laralde, Executive Director of the Edinburg Chamber. Of course, I have Deanna Garza. She's the Director of Special Events. I'm here to thank you guys. You know, obviously Fiesta Edinburg was last week. I think this past weekend. We're finally getting our bearings back today after cleanup and all that good stuff. But it went really well. It was a great event. We wished for better weather. It was cold out there. I know I saw a few of you out there, and I appreciate your support and going out there. But overall, it was a great event. We first looked at safety and security first, and everything went well. But everybody who went attended a great event, and the performances were awesome. And of course, you know, our 2 new additions, you know, having a petting zoo out there was free for the public, and the motorcycle show, it was very fearless, and needless to say, but a lot of people enjoyed the new attractions that we had. But overall, like I said, you know, great event. We're very in the preliminary stages of Fiesta. We're gathering some video, and we'll put together a formal presentation at a later on date, maybe at the end of this month, one of your board meetings in March. However, we did wanted to thank you guys. We never got to get the whole board together as far as taking a photo for the sponsorship contribution, and we wanted to put it on the agenda so we could take a photo, official photo, with you guys to thank you for your continued support for this community event.
Sure. I'm going to go down and take a picture. Sure. Just for the record, Mayor Pro Tem Gilbert Enriquez has joined us, 6:02.
Once again, thank you all. If you have any questions, I know a few of y'all went out there. Thank you for being there.
Thanks, Ronnie. We'll wait for the video next time. Okay. Takes us to item number 5, interim executive director's report. Mr. Hinojosa.
Yes. President, sales tax is still doing really well for the city. We're up again another 16%. On the city side, we're real happy about that as well. Looks like we're kind of leading the way in the valley, the whole valley, actually, as far as sales tax is concerned. So it's always good to see that. It looks like Edinburg still is showing growth, and everybody's shopping in Edinburg, which is real good.
Great.
Unemployment rate is still holding at 4.8. That's also very good. That means people are working here as well, so we're real happy with that as well. And that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Number 6, presentation and updates on North Park project.
Yes, we have Mr. Posadas who's going to be able to do that presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, Isael Posadas with SDI Engineering. Just to give you a brief update on where we are with the EDC North Park. Again, I always like to start off by telling you exactly where this park is, just for public consumption. It is located off of Rogers and Expressway 281 on the southwest corner. This is a picture as of earlier this morning, about 8:10 in the morning. You'll see the buses coming around. So far, as you can tell, the parking lot is complete and all the drainage surrounding the parking lot. The building is about 90% complete. I'll show you some pictures in just a little bit. All the irrigation sprinkler system that goes into the football field, which is the area immediately here to the west of the building, is also complete. The basketball courts, the sign, we're still pending a few items, which is for instance, the plaque design. We've turned over. I think it's circulating to see the naming and things like that. This area here, I'll call your attention to this area. It's pending. We've ordered the playscape equipment. We've got quite a bit of direct purchases through the buy board in order for us to realize some savings, and I'll tell you about those in just a little bit. But that's one of those items, the playscape. You'll see right here these canopies are already coming up, or at least the columns for the canopies or the barbecue areas. This area over here is a designated splash pad. That is also another direct purchase item, which was a late addition when we had our change order, when we changed the softball field to a dog park and also included the splash pad. The drainage around the facility is also complete, all the culverts and connections. And as you'll notice here, the trail. They haven't put in the decomposed granite yet, but they're putting in the base material. That's probably about 75% complete. They're working in this area out here. The curbing is in, but we still need to have some flex base, and then I believe it's about 6 inches of decomposed granite.
Where's all the water going to drain? Where's it flowing?
In the original design, when we had the softball field, everything drained in the northwest direction. So it drains out here. About half of this area here, from this portion here, drains out to this detention area, and then it makes its way to this next detention area, and then we have planned already a connection with TxDOT to connect to the expressway here.
So they haven't done the connections yet?
The connection's not done. We did submit a permit. One of the things about our design here is that, as you can tell, this is not a high asphalt, it's basically a lot of grass. So we don't expect a lot of runoff off the fields. So the connection is only an 8-inch connection to the TxDOT system, which only takes in the fields and the dog park area. The parking lot, the asphalt areas, per the plat requirement, connects to a drain that's already within this subdivision, within the Boys and Girls Club subdivision. That connects back to their internal system.
Asked about a possibility of having a secondary exit for the bus.
The issue with that is this design did not allow for it. We had already had all the trees in place, and actually the area that we had originally proposed it out here is where all the conduit come in for the splash park, all the plumbing, the water lines. It was a little tough to get it that way. So in the end, this parking lot does have the capacity to have a bus come in and go out and make certain movements. Also, this drive here is wide enough that the drop-offs could actually be off the main drive. You'll see right here, it's actually wide enough for 2 lanes, although it's not demarked as a 2-lane roadway. But you have enough room for a bus to park, drop off, and then we have a designated sidewalk from this sidewalk that runs all along in here that takes you directly into the park if there is ever any issues with maneuverability. But this lot in particular only had designated one entrance exit as part of the plat off of this boulevard. We did analyze that, and it would have been very close to the next driveway. The plat prohibits us from having any direct connections to this frontage road because of the speed and because of the location of this roadway here. Their access management plan prohibits that, and in the plat doesn't allow any access off of that drive. We'd have to ask for a variance to P&Z and then get a TxDOT permit on top of that.
So going back to my questions regarding the drainage, has the permit been applied for with
Yes.
TxDOT?
Yes. Yes, it
And
has.
have we received it?
No, we have not. But the design is such as that these areas can manage even without a connection. Although the connection is going to be made, everything is already prepared to tie in. Matter of fact, let me step back a little bit. It doesn't tie into a it ties into the bar side ditch. That's all it does, right in here.
So we don't have any pipe
There's a pipe there. We're just
connecting to the TxDOT's line that
there
runs
is no
on the frontage.
TxDOT. There's no TxDOT line. It's a bar side ditch designed by TxDOT.
So all the runoff from
The
the
highway.
highway and everything comes off of that ditch?
Is off of this bar side ditch, yes, and their own. All this is detention areas for them. You'll notice this is not a curb and gutter section. There is no pipeline that TxDOT has. All that does, when TxDOT gives us a permit, it allows us to put a bleeder line onto the bar side ditch, and in the future, should TxDOT ever put in a system, we could connect it at that time. But at this point, they don't have any. It is
So-
not a curb and gutter section.
So how many cubic yards of dirt did we have to bring in for this property?
None. Well, dirt, select fill and structural fill, that's the only thing they brought in. That was just for the building pads.
So
Aside
we
from that-
didn't have to raise any elevation?
We did raise elevations, but we robbed Peter to pay Paul within the same site. We took some of the we took some of the areas out of this football field, made that the low area, and basically balanced the site. And
So
it became even,
so this area where the football field, it was higher?
this area, no, I mean, I think we might have cut 6 inches or 8 inches just to get it to slope. And then the rest of the remainder to fill in the baseball field, because we recall, the baseball field, the softball field playing area did have to be elevated in order for play. But when we removed that, we didn't have to add any more. All the balancing that had to be done came directly out of these detention areas that were in the original design. In order for us to save money, this was the way we did it. We didn't have to bring in any fill.
So
Except
did we
for
get a
structural
credit?
fill.
Did we get a credit for not bringing in the fill for the softball field?
No, I take that back. The fill that was used was just this. The only thing we didn't have to do was bring in the sod or the turf.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The only thing that would have had to be brought in would be the playing field material, the red dirt, if you will, for the softball field.
So
That
that you
didn't
had
have to
already brought in the dirt, is what you're telling me?
No. The only dirt was what we moved from within the site from these detention ponds. That's what was used to fill the baseball field. The structural fill for the buildings, that had to be done anyway. That didn't get removed from the
No,
project.
I understand that. But so where did that dirt go? The ones that you removed from the detention areas?
To what was formerly the softball field.
So that's what I'm saying. So then you did get it to the elevation of
Yes.
what the softball
Yes.
field.
With
That
the
was my
excep-
question. And you said
Yes, and
no.
I'm sorry. With the exception of what would have been the red dirt.
Right, but I'm not talking about the dirt,
Yeah.
the red dirt. I'm talking about the actual.
We had already met that elevation, that grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean that that area is going to be, the dog area is going to be higher than the rest of the area, or what?
It currently is, yes. It's designed to flow. We didn't go back and have them remove that because it still drains toward these detention areas. So the same the same drainage patterns were kept.
So then basically everything on the east side of the restroom area and everything on the west side of the restroom area is going to flow to those two detention areas that you have, the one behind the dog park and then the one that's right in front of
Correct.
right in front of the bathrooms. And then everything's going to bleed to
Correct.
to the ditch.
Yes.
Okay. So we shouldn't have any ponding. We shouldn't have any low spots anywhere
No,
in those areas where we're going to have a lot of activity, which is the
Correct.
splash pad,
Correct.
the football field, everything like that.
Correct. Matter of fact, these buildings, when the first time they started building these pads and building them up, they're 2 feet higher than the curb out here. We maintain an elevation 2 feet per ordinance, 2 feet above the top of curb. So it's 36 inches higher, or 30 inches above the flow line of the roadway is where our buildings are set. So it is the higher area. All the areas that have structures are elevated. It'll be the last thing that floods there. The road would have to flood before any of that would flood. Of course, the detention ponds first, this area, the football field next, the street after that, then the parking lot, and then after the parking lot, the buildings would be what flooded. That would be in one of those catastrophic, where everybody would be underwater.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. This is a picture of the interior of the buildings. These were color selected by the Parks Department. As you can see, all the rough-in is in, all the plumbing, I should say, just except for the fixtures. This is the concession area. We're still pending the ceiling, but we've got to finalize all the electrical and get some inspections done.
Why do we have those pipes sticking? The ones at the very end. Why are those there? What's
This
that
one?
for? No, the ones on the wall by the window.
This
Those. Why are
this is the electrical. I believe that's the electrical conduit.
But why is it?
I'm not sure.
Why is it not inside the block?
That I'm not sure. I'd have to check to see if that's what the design called for. I'm not sure.
It's a brand new building. Why would you have
Yeah.
conduit exposed?
I'll have to check that. This is the overall layout. This is the designated dog park, which was part of a change order number 1, which is a deduct $81,447. These are some of the amenities, some of the direct purchase equipment, the benches, as you can tell, this is for the dogs and people, and the cleanup stations, or the baggies. The splash pad that came in afterwards. This is not the color scheme exactly, but it is just a sample that they provided us. We originally had a price or budget of $390,000, came in at $383,000. It's going to look similar to this. This is the one over at Bicentennial Park, I believe. So as far as the contract is concerned, Synergy is our contractor. The negotiated contract was $1.4 million. We had a deduct, taking out the softball field, bringing it down to $1,333,000. Payments to date, about 52%, $683,000. We've still got remaining $650,000, so about 48% pending to pay. They are ahead of that schedule, but on payment, they're behind, which is okay, which is in our favor. The direct purchases, we had estimate $480,000, or negotiated to date $480,000. We've only paid $2,700. Most of those are by contract once they're delivered. So this kind of gives you overall what the project itself costs, about $1.1 million. I'm sorry, $1.8 million, $1.814. Those direct purchases, as it denotes down here, includes the splash pad, playscape, and the miscellaneous equipment. On the benches, tables, barbecue pits, trash cans, bike racks, dog park items, we have received 90%. Those were delivered actually this morning to the site.
Mr.
And-
Posadas, real quick, what would be classified as a miscellaneous equipment?
It could be the liners on the inside of the trash cans. Sometimes they're the basketball hoops. Well, that's in here, but there aren't very many. For instance, I believe the bases, things. I'm sorry, we don't have that one in this one. This might have been. It's going to be small items. I'd have to look, but nothing appreciable, nothing big. 395,000 of this 480 is just the splash pad, and the playscape's another 110,000. So not much else on equipment. The bicentennial. Okay, so that was all we had for the North Park. This presentation combines North Park and Bicentennial Park because they're kind of married. Their budgets are kind of married together. So I
Hold on.
it's another
Do we
item.
have any other questions, gentlemen, on the North Park? If not, I'll skip over to number 8, which is discussion and possible action on Bicentennial Park, since Mr. Posadas is already up here. That's his item also. Are you all good with going forward to the next item?
I'm good.
Yeah? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Posadas.
Okay. Next item is the Bicentennial Park lighting improvements. Now, this is the sports lighting improvements. The site is located on the southeast corner of South Jackson Road in Sprague. Recall, this is the one where, since we had a deduct change order taking out the scope from North Park, we had those extra lights. So we ended up putting them in the center field and then of these 3 softball fields. And then we proceeded, the board authorized on November 26th for 2 more fields to be lit. These are the old ones. You've seen this. This is the old equipment. That also is going to be part of the replacement. As of this morning, you'll see right here, yesterday and today, yesterday they poured 9 of the 12 footings. And you see the lights are here. And as of this afternoon, 2 of the fields have already been standing up and lit. We expect the 3rd one to be lit by tomorrow afternoon. They require a 24-hour, before you set the poles on top, so a 24-hour curing time. And hopefully by tomorrow night, we'll have lights on. We're going to test them. We're going to have training tomorrow. And we're off to the races. Hopefully by Friday, everything is set in. Any necessary repairs. But as of right before the meeting, I got a text that 2 of these fields are lit.
What was that, sir? 2 of the fields what?
2 of the fields are lit already.
Are lit? Oh, okay.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Here on the Musco Lights section of the agenda, it says that they encountered water when they were drilling and the engineer provided a solution to proceed. What was that solution?
You have what we submitted the last meeting. We had some issue, and it had to do with the footings, and we were trying to resolve. There was an issue last week. It was about a week and a half ago that they had already drilled the piers. During our inspection, we noted that the piers had water in them, and so we had that was a condition that was not expected by them. So we didn't allow them, or based on our conversations with a geotechnical engineer and their structural engineer that provided that specific design, they weren't allowed to utilize those pits until they came up with a solution. What they didn't have on site last week or week and a half ago was casing. You know, what they do as an option, the structural engineer provided for a method in which a casing would be, they drill it, they set a casing, and then they pour in concrete, and then they remove the casing. That way they keeps, in case there is water, they over-excavate, and in case there is water or the sides don't hold up, they don't fall in. Well, they didn't have any of the casing on site when they started the drilling last week. We noted that, got together with the geotech, with their structural, and their structural decided to stop the drilling. So it took us about a week and a half, and early part of this week had conferences with our geotech and with their structural, and they brought in another drilling crew out of Corpus to come in and do the work directly from Musco. They were trying to use a local contractor, but they weren't equipped with the casing and things like that for this operation.
Thank you, sir.
They actually had 2 more people from Musco come down, representatives, to observe all the work as well, and they're still here on site, and as of today, 9 of them are been put in with the correct method under the guidance of their structural engineer and also our geotech. So that's the reason for all of it.
So going back to, you said 2 of the fields are lit.
2 of the fields.
Or
I just
light.
got the text.
There, okay, so have we checked the foot candle to make sure that every part of that, that field is lighted?
We're going to be trying that. Yes, correct.
Excuse me?
We're going to be checking that. Yes.
Okay, so when we decided that these were the locations of the light poles, we hadn't figured that
No, it
was
was
going
part
to
of
be
the
able
study.
to...
There was a photometric study done.
Okay, so...
By the MEP, correct, and we've got to verify that.
All that was taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And you'll see right now, because we did also photometrics for the area lighting, which is the next item, one of the items that you'll see in just a little bit. We went ahead and included the photometric study they had.
Yeah, Mr. President, I want to reiterate what Gilbert was saying, because in the initial plans, it looked like we were concerned that the lighting wasn't going to work for the outfield, but you're saying it was the photometric.
The MEP provided a photometric layout for those, including, and actually it was originally for the North Park, and then we transferred them over here. Before we went to the other 2 fields, they did a photometric study for the additional 2 fields, all 3 fields.
Okay. And the other thing that we all discussed was possibly using the post as a dual-sided to help light
Correct.
other areas.
Correct. And you'll see that, but that's in the other project. It was not in the original scope. It's in the other project that was proposed, because if you recall, we talked about taking advantage of the poles being there for the area lighting. Area lighting was not in this original scope, so we prepared an estimate, and I think tonight in your agenda is that proposal
Thank you.
to carry that on. So as far as the contract is concerned, with Synergy, it was a $79,000 contract. So far, we've paid about 29% of that. We've still got 56% or 61 or 71% remaining on their contract. On the Musco, $385,000. We haven't paid any of that. We're still pending that payment. So total overall, the project about $441,000. All the electrical panels, wiring, and conduit has been installed. The lights were delivered. Concrete base is installed. 9 poles to be finished today, which they have been. And contractor begin the other field tomorrow. We're expecting them to be done this Friday.
Perfect.
So any questions on those sports lighting? Because the next one is the area lighting. And I think that's actually an item on your agenda.
It's on the same line.
The next
It's
item?
on the same.
Okay. So the area lighting improvements. Of course, we've got the Musco field lights. This is approximately where they're located. The MEP, based on studying this site so far, these are the location, approximate location of where the lights would go along the trail. These are the parking lot lighting, and then some additional lighting for some of the other sports areas, like the parking lot on the far east side, the basketball court, and also right here, the skate park. This is a photometric study they did to make that determination on the location of those lights. So far, this is just a budgeted amount right now, about $470,000. It's the same as what we had proposed the last time. So this is a preliminary estimate. We haven't gone out and done any bidding. Of course, we didn't have authorization. If you recall, last time it was a joint meeting with the city, and we had a lot of discussion on who might pay, who had the funds, and that had not been determined. So at this point, this is all just very preliminary. You haven't even authorized us to do any studies, you haven't authorized us to spend any money or do anything at this point. At this point, all this has just been us doing internally studying it with our MEP, but nothing's been committed by the EDC. So what I wanted to do, and Mr. Valderas asked us to recap where we were on money to see where those $470,000 would fit. So the original budget was $1.8 million for the North Park. The splash pad addition budget was $360,000. The actual came down to $351,000. So we're at $2,151,000. The bicentennial sports lights, originally in the budget, we had estimated $433,000, $89.80. The actual came in at $395,000, $831.44. Really, the savings were realized with synergy. We got some savings off of that estimated budget.
Okay. Hold on real quick.
Yes, sir.
And you know, I hate to ask you, Mr. Hinojosa, because I know you weren't here, but what was the amount of the bond that we sold? Was it $10 million or was it $12.5 million? I don't remember the amount. Do you know? For the bond that we sold on the EDC
For the EDC?
yeah, for the park.
Do you remember, Aaron? 10, was it 10?
What is it?
10 what? 10-8? I believe it's 10-8. 10, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So-
I think it was 10. We went for 10, but the actual was 10.8.
So 10.8, and out of that 10.8, do you know what it was allocated? What was allocated for Thule, for the resource center, for a park? What were the allocation amounts when we sold the bond?
I believe El Tule was 4.5. The resource center was 2.1. The park was 1.8, North Park. That's correct. Right, 1.8. And of course, Bicentennial wasn't on there because we threw that in later with the lights.
All the extra funds were to be used on the other park that we had discussed, the special needs park.
So, but when we sold these bonds, was the 1.8 for a park or was the 1.8 for a inclusive park? Because I distinctly remember when I was on the board that the 1.8 was for an inclusive park because we already had $800,000 budgeted, and so we were going to add another 1.8 so we can build an inclusive park. So what I want to know is, did the bond, when we sold the bond, was it broad enough to where they could have changed the direction of those funds to a park and not the inclusive park that we had envisioned? I want to make sure that we're not misallocating the funds and misspending the funds.
We have talked to our bond attorney. We have a separate attorney that handles our bonds. So we could justify and make sure that we were on the right before moving forward with any of these projects. So I don't want to mispronounce his name. I'm not too sure I remember it offhand. But he did say the board has the directive to utilize it on those parks.
Okay.
I can get a statement from him later so that we have on record.
So we have it documented where he said we could use it for
Yes,
any,
sir, for
for
park.
any type of park.
For the parks. Yes.
Okay. All
So
right.
we're good to go.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So savings to date for this project, for this original allocation is so far $45,624. Now the Bicentennial area lights, if we were to choose to do that, that'd be the 470. This is again very preliminary estimate. You'd be looking at about $3,017,648.
470,000 for all those lights that you were showing, the
Correct.
parking lot,
It's just
the
preliminary.
trail, everything.
It's preliminary. I mean, there were a few extra lights that were added, like the Far East Side, but
Well, that was
we
a
have to take
basketball
into account that there's a lot of lights here, so there may be some savings in having more lights, right? So we didn't want to just go ahead and add more money. So I think
Is
we're
470 construction only, or is that
I think
including
that's overall.
design fees?
That's design. That's materials testing and construction. And you have that estimate, I believe, in your packet as well.
Including engineer fees and everything.
Correct.
I don't have that. Oh, was that in
And
there?
you have, I think one of the late additions to your packet, I think, was amendment number 2 to my contract. And what I did in that, I added I included as an attachment the estimate, the cost estimate, where that 470 comes out. And you'll notice, I mean, if you go in there and count all the dots, there's probably about 5 or 6 it's 5 or 6 less lights. But again, I didn't want to just assume that it'd be a lot. We might have some savings for having a bigger project. And
Mr. President,
not as
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we go out for design RFQs, professional services RFQs for the area lights at Bicentennial.
Okay, we do have a motion.
I second that.
We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Mr. Vela will be going out for RFQs on that.
Or, yeah.
And that's what we have.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Posadas, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll go back up to number 7 that we skipped over because Mr. Posadas was already on the podium. Presentation and updates on the El Tule project.
No.
Good evening. This is more of an update. I'm just going to go over what we've done in the last 2 weeks. Basically, I'm going back in chronological order just because it makes sense for the presentation. But on Monday, we met with the IT department to go over, with our MEP, to go over the specifications that we need so that El Tule has the same specs that the rest of the buildings that the city has, mainly because the cameras, they can see them from one spot. They can see all the cameras in all your buildings. The cameras, security, the phone system, and the data. And that would be all turnkey included in the project. Secondly, just through emails, we met with Mr. Reyna to go over the fact that the site is being used as staging for your drainage. So we told him in about 2 months we would be ready to go out for bids. And so he said he's going to check the project calendar to make sure that it is cleared. So when we do get a contractor on board, he has a site to himself. The drainage project is finishing. So he'll get back to us when that'll happen. And also, he's already looking at putting us on the bid calendar in 2 months, which at this point is a month and a half because that happened 2 weeks ago.
Who's this, Rudy?
Mr. Reyna.
Our city manager.
Yes. And then tomorrow we have a meeting at 1:30 with the city planning department, and mainly because of the civil engineering issue, he kind of stopped work until we get a site plan approval. And it doesn't affect the utilities and all that he's drawn because we've already discussed that with the city, and that's basically what we're getting tomorrow's hopefully site plan review. And I'm not sure we get on the calendar after that or we get the approval that day. But once we get that, the civil can continue with his drawings and finishing it up.
Okay.
And also,
Okay, so real quick, because I'm glad you brought up the site, okay, because it has been something that's been on my mind for a while, and I want to make sure that staff understands that the existing property elevation before they started using it as a staging area was a lot lower than what I see out there right now. And they have so much dirt that they've piled onto that I'm worried that they're going to leave the majority of it there, and we're going to have to pay for it through this project to remove that dirt. So I'm hoping that someone from staff took pictures, took elevations, and all that kind of stuff so they could get it to that same
Yes, we've had this
elevation.
discussion already. At least I've had.
Okay,
with,
great.
With engineering and with Tom Reyna. And I said, yes, I totally agree with you.
Okay.
On that note, Gilbert, we do have a topo, so we're going to have to check when the topo was done, if it was done before or after
Okay,
this
good.
happened. So that may be the recording
Okay.
baseline.
So you had a topo done before they started using it?
Well, that's what we don't know. We need to check the date on that topo.
Oh, okay, you
And we
don't
think
know.
it was after.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Because, if you've driven out there, I mean, that thing looks horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there is dirt everywhere. And for them to take all that dirt out, I mean, it's going to be a chore.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
hauling.
It's going to be long and hard. And so, did I hear you right? We're ready to go out for bid, but we can't because,
in 2 months.
Oh, in 2 months.
So they're
Okay.
checking to see where their project falls, to see where we'll be clear by then.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
We already started taking a lot of the pipes out of there, so they're about ready to actually get into the dirt part of all this.
So those pipes that were there was extra pipe? Okay, good, because I was like, man, if they only have 30 days to finish, where's all that pipe going?
There's that.
Senator Rowland's warehouse.
And basically, how it goes tomorrow with the site, because one of the questions that was brought up 2 weeks ago was the entries that were maybe too close together. So it's one of the things we'll discuss tomorrow when we meet with the city, and from there we can continue. And on the building, it's not a problem because no matter where you place it, and we already have a placement for it, that we're still continuing with CD. So it's just to get the civil back on board and get him going again.
Is the civil under your contract?
No, it's not. We've gone over this. No.
It's not under your
No,
contract?
it was hired separately by the EDC. So, but he'll be there tomorrow for the meeting. And that's all I have.
I have a question here, Mr. President.
Go ahead, sir.
And I was approached by a community member of this project that, I know it's the Tule Center for now, but Vietnam veteran died in action, lived in El Tule. And if in the future we're looking to consider naming this facility, just to consider that honorable citizen from Edinburg that lost his life in the Vietnam War.
Oh, definitely.
We've had a couple of other families, other than that one. We've had like 3 families that want to have their name on this building.
Guess we're going to put all three?
We'll give them a corner.
One name for each side of the building?
Well, there is 3
It's a very
gyms.
popular
There's 3
building.
gyms.
name the
Yeah, that's
gym.
true.
There
You
could
can
be
name
the-
inside the
name
gym.
each court.
Each court.
That's what we did with the baseball fields there at
Yep.
the Parks and Rec.
All of a sudden, I've had a lot of interest on the name of this building.
I told him I'd bring it up to the board here. and
Sure.
Definitely.
for
We'll
consideration.
definitely consider that once everything's done and stuff. Mr. Molina, thank you for your time. Gentlemen, y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are we at, number 9?
Yes, sir.
Consideration and possible action on the position of the interim executive director. Mr. Hinojosa, this is still open till
Yes,
March 6th?
Yes, I'm still on board with the city until March 20th, and I'm hopeful that the EDC board will be making a final decision on executive director probably mid-March, so I think we're okay. There's no reason to do any changes here.
Thank you for the update. Number 10, consideration and possible action on Project Unify. Mr. Vela, or who's got this? Mr. Vela? Mike?
Yes, Project Unify, we are just about closing up on the property located in front that we discussed prior. So the proposals that are in there are for demolition of the current facilities. One of them has burnt down, and the other one is vacant already at this time. So the one that is burnt down has been closed off. Yesterday I drove by, there was people in it, so we asked them to go. We've asked our PD to go by and patrol as well to keep the facility safe. So it's recommended that we demolish the facility. I did provide 2 quotes there, and I want to make it clear for the record on the names on the quotes.
Is that you?
We do have one from Rush Country Construction, and we do have one from Orlando Gomez. I want to make it clear that neither facility, neither organization that we got the quotes from are anybody on our EDC board or family of thereof. So it just so happened the name is there. So I do want to clear the record for
That is
that.
going to step down.
Thank you, Mr. Robles, for clearing that up. It's definitely not me.
Yes, no, for the
Thank
record,
you.
it is not anybody on our EDC board or on our EDC staff or family thereof. It's just the name. So we do have those 2 quotes there for demolition that we recommend we start something on that property.
I make a motion to approve this demolition.
Yeah, but there's two
There's
proposals.
two, we got two.
Now-
So the fees, can the city waive those fees? Because then it'll be $3,000 less.
That is where our
City-
interim
city-
executive director
city
slash
project,
interim, yeah,
5,000 less.
I mean,
yeah, we
it's the
saved some
same-
money.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I guess the biggest issue on any demolition is the asbestos, the remediation. So they'll have to do that. So other fees, we can take care of those.
Okay, but so, do they have an asbestos report that they're?
They're going to have to, for this, so the asbestos report has to be done before demolishing. If we can get the city to help us in removing the debris, dumping it, then we could save. So basically, the max would be $32,500. I'd like to sit with both of them and see a little more research, who has the best, can provide it the quickest, the safest, but the asbestos testing is a must, yes.
Right, but my question is, does he have the asbestos report or testing in the 27.5 or in the 5?
In the 5. The 5 is part of those fees. I believe it's $2,500 to remove this stuff. So the $5,000 includes the asbestos testing.
And so the other guy, the Roland Gomez, no relation to this Mr. Gomez.
Correct.
He has 30,000, but inclusive of everything, fees, report, everything, right?
Yes, that's what I asked for them on the quote. to
Well, then you
include
might as well
everything.
go with that guy then. I would think it'd be, because he's paying the city and he's taking the report, and then this other guy, we might have to pay $2,500 more.
And we're familiar with this other,
I am familiar with the first one, Brush Country, more familiar with the Brush Country construction than I am with the Rolando Gomez on this quote. But yes, we have looked into work for both of them.
That what?
We have looked into work for both of them to make sure, everybody's up to date. It is required that they get all proper permits and everything that's needed prior to any of the work. I make sure that we see those prior to them working.
Right. And he's from Edinburg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a plus too. He's from Edinburg.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go with the best price, Mr. Rolando Gomez, for the demolition,
For 30,000?
for 30,000.
I'll second.
We do have a motion and a second to go with Mr. Gomez. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 11, discussion and possible action on Nuco tools. Mr. Vela?
Right, that is an item that I'm going to recommend we take into executive because that item is subject to pending litigation still.
Okay, there was a couple of items that you wanted to move to executive. You want to just give them to me all right now so we can make one motion?
Sure, I'll recommend item 11 that we just discussed. Item 14, which is economic development negotiations.
Okay.
Item 15, which is also economic development. Item 17. And I believe that is it.
I'd like
I
to
make
take
a
back
motion to-
number- Excuse me, Mr. Rodriguez, I'll take back also number 12 for legal questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez.
I make a motion to take items 11, 12, 14, 15, and 17 into executive session.
Second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second for items 11, 12, 14, 15, and 17. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. So that will take us to item number 13. Discussion and possible action on an MOU with 6 RNs Institute Health Career Training School.
Yes, Mr. President, item 13 and item 18, there's no action for you all tonight. We had them on the agenda, hoping we'd have the information, all the information, but we don't. So there's no action on those two items.
Okay, so no action on 13,
And 18,
no action on 18,
and then take us to 16.
14, 15. So that takes us to item 16, discussion and possible action on Valley Metro LRGVDC.
Okay, Mr. President, as you all are aware, the EDC has been involved with the transit terminal project for, gosh, going on almost 5 years now. Even from the planning part of it, probably maybe even 6 years. I'd like to report that the transit terminal finally has a certificate of occupancy that has been issued by the city, so they're ready to move in, the Valley Metro, the bus company. The funding for this project was a combination of funding from the Federal Transit Administration, from the LRGVDC, and the match came from the EDDC. The city was involved only on the financial management and part of it, and going out to the bids and hiring the architect. And all the funding came from FTA with a match from EDC. The EDC's match, the original match of the EDC on the original grant, was 20%, and it was a combination of land and cash. The property was owned by the EDC, and they were able to use that as the match for the original grant. During the course of time, the previous board and the previous executive director at the time added more work to the transit terminal. They added more offices to it and more amenities to the offices that were added to the actual transit part of this, which increased the amount of the budget. The board at that time approved the additional increase in the actual construction of the facility. The funding for that was to get an additional grant from FTA, which would require an additional 20% match. It took the LRGVDC, Valley Metro, almost over 2 years for get that grant approved. The match ended up being $200,000. I believe the EDC boards had been budgeting the $200,000 every year in anticipation of that grant finally getting approved. It has now got approved. We finally got it approved. At least the COG has. So I know that originally it was budgeted in the budget, this current budget. It was taken out, in anticipation that the grant wasn't going to get approved this year, but it has been approved. So now we're going to have to do a budget amendment. I'm just bringing that up to your all's attention now. We did get an invoice from the COG for that $200,000. It's not on the budget yet, on the agenda to actually do a budget amendment. And I'd like our CPA to be here to kind of explain all that to you all. He's not here today, so the next meeting, we definitely will have this on the agenda again, so he can walk you through the budget and then how we're going to pay for it.
Okay, so then there's no action on this item as right now?
I wouldn't take any action on it.
Okay, no problem. 17 was pulled to the back, 18 no action. Takes us to 19, presentation on EEDC financial reports.
We'll have to wait that till the next meeting. The CPA
Also?
couldn't be here.
Okay, no action on 19. 20, executive session. Can I?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Second.
Second, we do have a motion and a second to go back into executive. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We will go back into executive. The time now is 6:54 p.m.
At this time, the EDC Board will convene into executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Exceptions to requirements that meetings be open to deliberate in the following sections. 551.071, consultation with attorney. 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development, negotiations, and 551.074, personnel matters.
shifts as principals? No, I go.
So motion made.
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. The time now is 8:16 p.m. and we are out of executive. Can I get a motion to bring back items 11, 12, 14, 15, and 17, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Mr. Vela?
Mr. President, we did have some discussion regarding some legal matters and also some issues regarding real property. No action was taken on those items, and from what I understand, there's no action on the items that were taken into executive, which were items 11, 12, 14, 15, 17. So all we need is a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Just for the record, Mr. Enriquez is here. That's why I didn't say that he left at a specific time, but he is here. Meeting adjourned. Time now is 8:17.
Did we get a vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All four. Gilbert did a vote.